Subscribe to Gizmo Times and get notified about our latest videos by hitting the bell icon.
Hey guys, welcome to Gizmo Times. This is Chetan and this is the comparison of the Vivo Z1 Pro with the Realme 3 Pro. So this is the Vivo Z1 Pro and this is the Realme 3 Pro smartphone. And the Vivo Z1 Pro is launched with the price starting at 15,000 rupees, which is quite a good price for what is offered here. And in comparison to that, there are a couple of devices, not just the Realme 3 Pro, but also the Redmi Note 7 Pro, which is going to be one of the major competitors of this device. Because firstly, in this price range, we haven't seen Vivo doing quite a lot of good phones, but now is the time when we see things changing around. There's a heavy capacity battery, there's quite a good design and a triple lens camera combination on the back, and also that in-display camera on the front. So it comes as a good package, but how good is it when compared to these two phones? So in this particular video, we're going to do a comparison with the Realme 3 Pro. Starting with the design, both of them have a plastic back. It's not a glass back. To be frank, again, I won't really mind that because in a way, I've always said that glass back looks good, but it's also fragile and prone to breaking. So it's a plastic back on both of them, but the gradient design that is present on the Vivo Z1 Pro, it actually makes it look better. And when you're projecting it against the light, you'll see that there are different colors that show out, which makes it look interesting and good enough. On the other side, the Realme 3 Pro doesn't look bad in a way, but it doesn't have anything that special to show itself out, and there's nothing you can boast about the design here. But talking about the comfort here, the Realme 3 Pro actually is much more comfortable when compared to the Vivo Z1 Pro, because the Z1 Pro is not just thicker, it's also larger, wider and taller. So everywhere it's bigger, but that is thanks to the fact that it has a larger battery as well. So you can't say that it's just uncomfortable because of no reason. It has a good reason to be large. So in a way, if you are someone who actually likes smaller phones, who don't want to have large phones that cannot be used with a single hand, the Realme 3 Pro should be a good one for you. But again, on the other side, if you're someone who's always concerned about the battery life and want a larger display for more media consumption, the Vivo Z1 Pro has it. So that takes us to the next one, that is the display. Large display, 6.53 inch, and in comparison to that, it's 6.3 inch on the Realme 3 Pro. So 6.53 inch, again, the resolution is exactly the same on both of them. It's 2340 into 1080 pixels of screen resolution, and also it's IPS LCD display on both of them. There's no difference in the technology that is used here, no AMOLED displays on both of them. And with the protection as well, we haven't been told about the protection on both the phones, so we can't say that one is better than the other that way. And with the color output, we have seen the exact same content of both of them, with both the contrast and everything. It actually feels the same. There's no huge difference in that, though this might look a bit sharper, but in real life there's not a lot of difference, because this felt sharper because of the smaller screen size having the same resolution. But again, not a real difference there, since in a way you feel that the larger display would always be helpful for more for better media output there. And now moving on to the next aspect, that is the processor or the performance of the phone. It's Snapdragon 712 on the Vivo Z1 Pro. This is the first phone from the company, or first phone actually in the Indian market to have the Snapdragon 712. In comparison to that, the Realme 3 Pro comes with the Snapdragon 710. Now talking about how do they differ, it's the same manufacturing process. There's no difference that way. Only with the clock speed, this is a bit speeder that way. But with the GPU that is given here, both the phones have the same GPU. So with the gaming performance or with any graphic performance, you won't see any real life difference there. It's almost the same with the performance. Again, you have variants that would give you 4 GB of RAM to 6 GB of RAM, and some 64 GB storage to 128 on the Vivo Z1 Pro, but this had only 64 GB as the maximum storage when we last checked. Now the camera combination, something that is really important here. I would easily give the vote to Vivo Z1 Pro over the Realme 3 Pro. Though you can't easily say that it's better only based on the specs, because we have checked a lot of camera samples here. It would be a separate camera comparison that we are going to do on the channel, so you have to stay tuned for that. But on the early thoughts that we took photos of, I would say that the Vivo Z1 Pro had a better contrast, better dynamic range, and also that wide angle camera on that phone is surely helpful over the Realme 3 Pro's dual lens camera combination given there. So let's talk about the specs here. The Vivo Z1 Pro's top camera is the 8 megapixel wide angle camera, which is going to give you that wide angle photos. Second one is the 16 megapixel, that is a primary sensor, the 16 megapixel f1.78 camera, and the third one is a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. On the other side, the Realme 3 Pro comes with the the 16 megapixel primary camera with the f1.7 aperture, and the secondary one is a 5 megapixel depth sensor. So for the depth sensor, it is a larger resolution camera that is offered on the Realme 3 Pro. But with the depth sensing, again, we haven't seen a lot of difference. But only the major difference here is that wide angle camera offered to take those good wide angle shots, mainly the landscape photos when you are traveling out there. And with the video recording, both offer 4K video recording. And with the slow motions, there are more options on the slow motion video recording for the Realme 3 Pro. That is not so much offered on the Vivo Z1 Pro. But again, it's mostly a software work done on the Realme 3 Pro. So I won't say that it's really better on the other side. Now, the selfie camera, something that is again important after the real camera, that's the rear camera. There's a 32 megapixel in-display camera on the Vivo Z1 Pro, and if you see it with any widescreen there, you can clearly see that this camera sits on the left corner, and it doesn't hamper any of the experience there. It's actually not on that notch area, which is now quite common, and this was on the center of the phone, that notch, and even there, it's a 25 megapixel camera on the Realme 3 Pro. It's not that it's a regressed or a very bad camera out there. It's quite a decent camera on the Realme 3 Pro, but it's a 32 megapixel f2.0 camera on the Vivo Z1 Pro, which claims to be better. And with the initial shots, I felt that both are almost the same. There's not a real difference out there. And with the portrait shots taken with that single camera on the front, the software optimization done, the software bouquet that is added there, it's again almost the same. So it's a better resolution camera on the Vivo Z1 Pro, but there's not a lot of difference with the selfies taken with the Z1 Pro and the Realme 3 Pro. Now moving on to the OS, it's Android 9 Pie on both of them, and the Vivo Z1 Pro comes with FunTouch OS, the Realme 3 Pro comes with the Color OS. Always a personal preference. There's a lot of things that are offered on both the phones in terms of interface, in terms of those extra gesture features and options. So it totally depends on what you prefer to use. And somehow I would always say that once you buy the phone, you are getting used to the interface anyway, so you don't really have to mind about that. You have to look at the other aspects, mainly the camera, the battery, the display, if you are trying to buy one phone over the other, not for the interface. And now moving on to the last aspect, where Vivo Z1 Pro clearly beats the Realme 3 Pro. We have done the battery drain test as well. It's the battery life that we are going to talk about. 5000 mAh battery on the Vivo Z1 Pro compared to the 4045 mAh on the Realme 3 Pro. The battery life that is offered here with the screen on time, particularly screen on time on the Realme 3 Pro was about 5.5 to 6 hours at max, and sometimes it would go over that if you have a well optimized usage. But on the other side, we could easily get about 9 hours of screen on time on the Vivo Z1 Pro on our initial test, like 3 to 4 cycles, and that is the reason I easily would say that the battery life is actually better on the Vivo Z1 Pro. Now let's talk about the charging there. It's 18-watt charge on the Vivo Z1 Pro and 20-watt charge on the Realme 3 Pro. It's VOOC 3.0 charging on the Realme 3 Pro and the dual engine fast charge on the Vivo phone. But again, it's taking about half an hour lesser on the Realme 3 Pro. In a way, that won't matter a lot to me, because it's a 5000 mAh battery, and sometimes if you are taking about 2 hours of charging on it, it's going to reach 90%. After that, it's going to slow down the charging. So we have done that charging test and the battery drain test anyway. You can check out the charging speeds there. It has reached 90% of charge in 2 hours. So that is where I would say that the Vivo Z1 Pro, both with the battery life as well as with the charging, has done quite a good job there. So this was the full comparison of the Vivo Z1 Pro and the Realme 3 Pro. These phones are priced almost the same, about ₹1,000 difference for the same RAM and storage option given there. But the major differences here, I would again repeat that the display size is bigger on the Vivo Z1 Pro, the comfort is better on the Realme 3 Pro. The cameras seem better on the Vivo Z1 Pro, while on the other side there's a dedicated microSD card slot on the Realme 3 Pro. And the battery life is better on the Vivo Z1 Pro. So it totally depends on what your choice is, what your need is, and based on that you can decide which is the winner. There's no clear winner anyway for any two phones in the same price range. It's always dependent on what you want to have in your smartphone. So this was a comparison of the Realme 3 Pro and the Vivo Z1 Pro. I hope you like this video. If you do share and subscribe to me sometimes for more. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.